This is Ethan Skolnick of the Five on the Floor podcast on the 5 Reasons Sports Network emergency podcast tonight. Emergency podcast, which is why I'm doing this, and my voice is scratchy, and it's going to be a mess. But I've got Alphonse Sidney here with me before we get to the podcast and talk about the imminent, or at least it's been confirmed by Woj, a trade of Justise Winslow to Memphis and kind of some of the other moving parts. I want to tell you about one of the great sponsors of the 5 Reasons Sports Network. And that is Serrani Men's Custom Clothiers. Serrani Men's Custom Clothiers is where you want to go if you have trouble shopping for dress clothes. You can never seem to find the right fit, color, or style. Maybe you feel like you never know what to wear or how to wear it, or maybe you've got a wedding, a special event. Maybe you want to wear professional attire daily. That's why you've got to go see Blanca over at Serrani Men's Custom Clothier. That's in South Miami, her private showroom located right across from Sunset Place on Red Road. Serrani has been designing fine custom-made clothing in South Miami for over 30 years. Your custom-made suits, pants, shirts, and shoes will fit you just the way you like. So schedule a private consultation with Blanca like I did to start looking your best and get the benefit of a female's perspective on men's fashion. So give her a call, 305-310-2085. That's 305-310-2085. Nothing fits like custom-tailored clothes. Start buying off the rack. And now, today's emergency episode.
Welcome to 5 on the Floor, a Miami Heat and NBA podcast from Ethan Skolnick with Alphonse Sidney, a.k.a. Alf954. Brought to you by the 5 Reasons Sports Network.
All right, Ethan Skolnick back with Alphonse Sidney. Now, as we're doing this, things are still in motion. We're both watching a game on ESPN. George Sedano, thank you for the shout-out. Always appreciated. And the Clippers are up 9 as we speak in the middle of the third quarter. Someone named Gabe Vincent has gone off for the Heat. Before we get to the trades, I maintain that Sioux Falls would win the NBA championship. I think they just should enter. I think they should just enter Sioux Falls. You and I said it when they signed this Gabe Vincent guy. We're like, we don't mock any of this anymore. Because Kendrick Nunn, right? Duncan Robinson, they just find guys out of nowhere. And so this guy will probably be an all-star in 2 years. But anyway, let's get to the trade. We don't have it confirmed from the Heat, in part because they're still doing stuff. And if you followed them closely and remember what happened with Jimmy Butler, these parts move. And as I've said before in other podcasts, the Jimmy Butler thing almost fell through about 25 times. And Andy Ellisberg worked magic in 15 minutes and made it happen and moved the pieces. And Harkless went to the Clippers and gave up the first-round pick after the Cuban thing blew up with, in Dallas with Dragic and Olynyk and Derrick Jones Jr. and who they were trading. So, look, stuff is happening. But here's the latest that we can give you. Justise Winslow is going to Memphis. That we know. Andre Iguodala is coming to Miami after not playing the entire season at age 36. We don't know the other parts to that trade. I've been trying to get it. If Woj doesn't have it yet, I don't have it. Okay. But the other part that Woj reported was that Danilo Gallinari is still on the Heat's radar, and they're essentially, Memphis, and this is why I said, things are in motion. Memphis and Miami are trying to involve Oklahoma City, so it's all part of one trade. And then perhaps what's going to end up happening here is that the protections will be taken off of the picks that Oklahoma City and Miami has exchanged before. So let's get to the Winslow part with you first, Alf. We did a podcast this morning. Was it this morning? Feels like forever ago. We did a podcast this morning in which Alex asked me a question. He said, do you think Justise Winslow will be playing for the Heat in the playoffs? And I said no. And the reason I said that was because one of two things was going to happen. Either this injury that he felt was worse than the team did, and we've said this on previous pods, was going to keep him out, and we were going to get a press release in a week and a half that he wasn't playing again this season. Or he was going to be traded. He was traded. How do you feel about it?
As a Heat fan and as somebody who really, really, really loved Justise Winslow's game, I think anybody who follows me on Twitter knows how I feel about Justise Winslow. I really love what he brought to the table, the toughness, the defense. I'm a defense first guy. I've been saying this since the beginning of the year that if the Heat don't find a defensive mentality going into the playoffs, this, I feel like there's a little bit of fool's gold in a bunch of undrafted free agents and rookies shooting you into a championship. Like, I just don't think that's realistic. And I think NBA history kind of tells you that it's not realistic. So I always felt like Justise Winslow was the key. Guys like Justice, Bam, Jimmy being robust and being excellent defensively was the key to them actually being a really good playoff team, a team that can get to the Eastern Conference Finals, and who knows what happens at that point. So I always felt like Justice was a huge, huge part of that. Now, going through the season, I don't think it matters how good Justice is defensively if he can't stay on the court, right?
Right.
We talked about this all the time. The best ability is availability. So at this point, I started to feel like, and I actually got I got bitched out by Christian Hernandez in the group chat today, where I said, Heat fans, we're cheering for potential more than we're cheering for the actual player. And I'm not talking about just a skill potential, because we know how skilled he is. I'm talking about the potential for him to be actually on the floor. So, yes, as a Heat fan who's watched Justice growing up before our eyes, watched him go from, he's the next Dwayne Wade offensive savior to, no, he's actually a defensive stopper, maybe a 3-and-D guy who can also create offense for other players, to can the guy even get on the court? Like, this right. It hurts a little bit as a fan, but you understand why it happened. And the more that we've learned about the front office disconnect with Justice and his people, Tim Reynolds actually put out a tweet tonight, and a lot of people are mad at him for it. And
what was the tweet? I didn't see Tim's
the tweet.
Tim would have the organizational perspective, most likely.
Well, so the tweet basically was, he, as much as we all love Justice, he felt like Justice never really liked being a Miami Heat player. And
see, I don't. Okay. I'm going to jump in on that. I agree with Tim. I agree.
And so
with
do
Tim
I. And I agree with Tim there too.
No, but to a point though, Alf. Here's the thing. Here's where I agree with Tim. I don't agree with Tim in one sense, because I know Justice wanted to be a face of the franchise. He wanted to follow Dwayne. He said that to me on the radio. He has said that to others. So I do believe that there was an appeal to being a Miami Heat player. I think he respected a lot of the older guys, Bosh in particular, Dwayne. I think he fit perfectly into that 15-16 team along with Jay Rich. But, a few things happened here. Jay Rich was traded. That was his best friend. Also, excuse me, my voice is shot, so I apologize to everybody listening. But also, if you remember, Riley made that joke after he drafted Tyler Hero. No more Duke guys. In every joke, there's a little bit of truth. And I can reveal this now. I don't want to trash Justice on the way out the door. I love Justice. I really respect Justice personally. I love that he's got a lot of different interests. He reminded me of Bosh in a lot of different ways. He treated me very well as a reporter. He's a fun guy. We saw that on Twitter recently. There's a lot of things I like about Justice, and I hope Justice has a long, productive career. And I was a big defender of Justice, as were you. But now I can reveal this. Now he's traded. I was told by 6-7 members of the organization, Justice won't play unless he's 100%. I think I've told you that off the air here. That was the issue. And so people are speculating about gummies and other things like that. Maybe I'll be surprised by something else that comes out. Like people say he gave Dion the gummies. I don't know that. I don't think that's something they would punish him.
He didn't, and I can tell you for a fact he didn't give Dion the gummies.
Right. Okay. Right. Exactly. But that was like people were looking for a reason why he was out, and I kept saying it's simple. It's very simple. There is a disconnect. Woj is on TV now, so we might have to break in here. But there was a disconnect between the organization and it's about Dylan Brooks, so don't worry about that. But there was a disconnect between him and the organization about the severity of that injury. They changed the diagnosis of it. Originally, it was a strain. They changed it then to a bone bruise. I kept saying before that road trip to Indiana and New York that I wasn't expecting him to play anytime soon, and then he popped up in Indiana. Now, I don't know the exact specifics of how they came to a meeting in the minds for him to get back on the court, but it lasted 15 minutes. And then Spo
he looked terrible.
He looked terrible. And Spo came out the next day and said, basically, he's not going to play the next 2 games. And then after that, it was, he went home. And, they said, look, it was, it's normal. He's going to get another opinion. But I had heard he had gotten a second opinion. The second opinion, was worse than the first. He felt that he could be doing some permanent damage to it. The Heat, my understanding, they may call and correct me, my understanding was they felt it was a pain tolerance issue. That has been an issue with other players in the past. Josh McRoberts comes to mind. There have been others in the Heat organization where that has been an issue. But they and Justise were not on the same page with the injury. I don't think there's anything else to it. Now, did they take a look at it and say kind of what we've said on the podcast, that Justise is basically Jimmy light? And so everything Justise does, Jimmy does just a little bit better, except the three-point shooting lately. But, which is funny because that was the part that was supposedly the biggest problem with Justise. But they never got a chance to see the two of them together offensively. And what's a shame for me is I was in front of Justice's locker after the season opener when Jimmy didn't play, and Justise had 27, 7, and 7, and he looked so comfortable and so happy and joking around and talking about, hey, he wanted it to be his team, and then it just never really materialized. So there's some regret that it didn't work, but I think they had just come to a point with him where they didn't feel, and this is where I do agree with Tim, they didn't feel he was Heat material through and through. And they believe that Bam Adebayo is. They believe that Tyler Herro is. They know that Jimmy Butler is. They didn't necessarily believe that Justise Winslow was anymore. Not now. Maybe when he first broke in, but not now. And so I think that sort of puts a capper on it. Now, I think we need to transition to the next part of this, which is Andre Iguodala, Danilo Gallinari, and what the Heat are doing here. And I think what the Heat are doing, first thing, this tells you that Pat Riley thinks they can win this year. That's the biggest thing. The second thing is, and we say that as they're losing by 12 to the Clippers, but I think the Clippers are going to win the championship. And the Heat are shorthanded. But the second thing I think it tells you is they're trying to build a team for Jimmy. If you look at what they're doing, if they add Gallinari to Nunn, to Hero, to Duncan Robinson, right, they're putting shooters all over the floor for Jimmy. And now they put a defender on the floor in Iguodala who can defend his man. I think he can still do it at 36, who can defend his man and allow Jimmy to roam. Now, we don't know if Jae Crowder is coming back. We don't know what the other pieces are. I can tell you, and I'm reporting this because I just got a text from somebody. You ready? Prepared for this?
I'm ready. Go ahead.
All right. I don't think this is going to be a huge surprise to anybody because I don't believe they're on the bench right now. But I think that the Heat might have found a way to rid themselves of both Dion and JJ tonight.
They were not at shoot around.
I think they may have, like I'm saying, found a way to move those two contracts. I don't know if other people have reported that, but I got a text basically that effect, that it's not official, but that's where this is heading.
Yeah,
I don't know how that happens.
I actually had Heat fans in LA tonight send me direct messages about the who was on the floor for shoot around, and Dion and JJ were not. So,
right.
I don't know what that means because everyone's talking about Danilo Gallinari, and he's actually playing tonight. So,
right. No, he's playing tonight. I don't think that's done. Like I said, they're trying to put all this together into one deal. But let's get to, so again, developing. I haven't even tweeted it yet. Excuse me, if I'm dying. But let's get to Iguodala. He sat out the whole season. He pissed a lot of people off.
Yeah.
Dylan Brooks, Jay Morant. I mean, they were not, John Morant. They were not happy with him. He's 36. I do want to make a point on that, though. Gary Payton was 37 when Pat Riley signed him. He made big shots in the finals. I don't think the age thing scares him. Pat coached Kareem into his 40s. They picked up McAdoo at 31 with the Lakers. He was a big contributor to those teams. With the Knicks, they added veterans as they went. Ray Allen made the biggest shot, arguably in NBA history, I believe, at age 37. So I don't think that the age thing bothers them with Iguodala. He's also going to be rested. He's notoriously disciplined in his conditioning. I mean, there are legendary stories about him. So I think he's going to be capable of playing well. But do you like the fit with the Heat?
I love the fit, and I keep getting text messages from people. Why did they trade old Winslow for young Winslow? The problem is old Winslow is available to play. Young Winslow is not. So if you believe that you have a window with Jimmy Butler, and you feel like right now with the team that you have, that if with small improvements that you could make in the Eastern Conference Finals and even in NBA Finals, then you pull the trigger. And if you feel like Justise Winslow is not a long-term – because 2021 you have to pay Justise Winslow. You have to. If you do not feel like he's a long-term fit and you have a guy that for 2 years can do a lot of the things that Justise does, then why not make that move? Because – and I've said it over and over again – the guy that the Heat need is healthy Justise Winslow. The move that they needed to make was somehow get to get Justise Winslow healthy. And if you can't get Justise Winslow healthy, Andre Iguodala is the guy that they need. They need the 3-and-D guy. They need the guy that can lock up the other team's best offensive player and provide enough spacing on the other floor for Jimmy and these other guys to work. So Andre Iguodala is that guy. Now, I understand where Heat fans are coming from. If all this results in is an even swap for Justise Winslow and Andre Iguodala, which doesn't work money-wise, so you have to understand that they're also getting rid of another contract, a Dion Waiters, a James Johnson, something like that, and we're not even going into the Danilo Gallinari phase of this. You have to say that, yes, it was, as much as it hurts as a fan, it was a smart move. Because you got the guy that you want Justise Winslow to be in Andre, and you got off of the Dion or James Johnson, potentially both of those contracts, which opens up about $20 million this summer, which it's not a robust free agent market, but it gives you room to move. And you also there's a team option on that $30 million extension for Andre Iguodala that gives you that space for 2021 that you're looking for.
Yeah, to me the big thing is the space. Like I don't care about the $15 million and the extension, because that's not the year that you were concerned about anyway. So it doesn't really matter. I mean, you've moved Justice's money out. Justise would have been making 12 that year. So that to me that's not a big deal. I think the thing with Iguodala is that this is a really young team. Now I know that Iguodala didn't want to coach up the Memphis young players. But the difference is that when Iguodala was traded there were no expectations for those Memphis young players. They had just gotten rid of Conley. They got rid of Gasol last year. They were building the thing from scratch. Nobody even knows who their coach is. I mean, they were building it up, from the very bottom again. He didn't want to deal with it. I'm not saying he handled it correctly. I'm not saying that at all. But he just didn't want to be there. Now the Heat, though, those young players have proven themselves over the past 3-4 months. So he's joining a team of young players that he will want to play with. I don't know his relationship with Jimmy, but I have talked to some people around Jimmy tonight. And obviously I haven't talked to Jimmy. He's on the court right now. But I've talked to some people around, and I can tell you they like the move. And I keep coming back to this. They're building a team to fit their stars, right? They're building a team to play with Bam and with Jimmy. And I've always said they're building a team ultimately for Giannis. And if you look at some of these pieces that they're putting around, you're still clearing the cap space in 2021 for Giannis. You haven't hurt yourself in any particular way. I mean, the regret here is they didn't get the most out of Justise, and that is a legitimate regret. But I think Heat fans should be encouraged, because Pat Riley sees something in this team. And like I've said repeatedly, a lot of us had bad 2016s and 2017s, Alf. Pat wasn't the only one. But he had 2 really bad off seasons, because I think he was overly sentimental after the big 3 broke up. And, and there was this need to sort of repair, goodwill, with players around the league. after what happened with Dwayne, after everybody in the big three left angry, not just
honestly,
the big three, but the supporting players.
It worked.
Yes.
Some of that worked.
Mm-hmm.
They became a player-friendly franchise again.
Right. They lost the cap space, but they gained back reputation. It's funny. Like they had to give up the cap space to do it. I'm still not ever going to defend the moves. Okay, I'm not going to defend the Dion move, the JJ move. Olynyk I didn't really have a problem with, but obviously Tyler Johnson, Whiteside I didn't have a problem with at the time, but it didn't work out very well. But you're right. They did regain some goodwill with players around the league. And they rebuilt this whole culture model, and which I've mocked at times, but clearly that Jimmy related to that. So that meant something, and Jimmy being here is one of the reasons other players want to be here. So I think all of it has played out. You know, again, we're not going to go much more on this pod tonight because other things are happening, but I have one more thing to go here. Gallinari, again, contract is up, 2021, right? So you don't have to deal with it past then. Somebody in the Heat organization about 6 weeks ago, we were just a random conversation about players around the league and noting I mentioned that Gallinari doesn't stay healthy, and I was corrected and said, well, he has lately. And that's true. If you look at it, he's been more durable recently. He is a true stretch four, like, you know, not a great rebounder, not a great defender, but he can shoot the lights out. If it means protection, I mean, what would make it a no-go for you, I guess, for Gallinari?
Honestly, there's nothing really. I would take off those protections for that, because one of the things people are like, how are they going to get Gallinari? Because of how good Gallinari's been really, really good this year. And how are they going to get Gallinari? They just release they take the protections off the first round pick that they owe OKC. And listen, if the end game is to get Andre Iguodala, Danilo Gallinari, and possibly a Jae Crowder, and you're losing Justise Winslow, who doesn't play for you, Kelly Olynyk, not Derek Jones Jr., or Kelly Olynyk, James Johnson, the Dion Waiters, any combination of those guys, it is a absolute win. Like, get off. Like, we all need to stop being emotional about it, because emotional is what got us, what got the Heat into signing guys from that 30-11 team, which we talked about just now. That yes, there were some positives from that, but there were also a lot of negatives from that. The emotion of it, get off of the emotion. And if at the end of the day you lose, let's say at the end you walk away from Justise Winslow, James Johnson, and Dion Waiters, and pick up Andre Iguodala, Jae Crowder, and Danilo Gallinari, you absolutely won, and you became an Eastern Conference Finals contender today. Are you absolutely?
Well, that's the biggest thing. Like, again, I'm disappointed they couldn't make the Justice thing work. But like you said, as far as this year's team, I was not expecting him to play for them. He doesn't play, right?
I love him. I love that guy.
This year.
Yeah.
Right, and I hope he becomes something somewhere else. And look, it's going to be interesting, you know, him playing with Morant, you know, because Morant handles the ball so much, and how that works with the two of them. But look, he'll go to a young team, and he's still a young player. He's 24, and he'll have a chance to develop sort of out of sometimes players, they go to their second team. It's just easier, right? The pressure is off a little bit. They're not their first-round pick. It's a different deal. So I wish him the best. I hope things work out for him. But if you're talking about this year's team, then he just wasn't giving you anything. And here's the other thing about it. If you're Riley, again, chess not checkers, okay? And I think he's got his game back now. Like, I think we've seen it. He got Jimmy with no cap space. You look at this situation. What if you're the team to keep Giannis from the finals? What if these moves that you made kept Giannis from the finals?
And even if you lose to the Clippers, who
cares? Who cares, right? Well, I mean, people don't care, but who cares? Okay, what if you keep Giannis from the finals the next 2 years? Now, some will say, well, he won't join the team that beats him, but Durant did. You know, I mean, if you want it, I've said all along, okay, and we'll close here because something else is going to happen by the time we finish this pod, and I just want to get it up there on the site somewhere. But Pat Riley is not delaying his retirement in Malibu to make small moves. He's not. This is about Giannis. This is about Anthony Davis. This is about winning championships. There is no reason for him to still be here otherwise. It doesn't make sense. He's built this powerhouse front office. Adam Simon could run 25 organizations in the NBA right now. Okay? Andy Ellisberg could run 25 organizations in the NBA right now. Shane Battier probably could too. Eric Spoelstra probably could too. Okay? There's no, and then you have the Arisons, okay, and stability. There is no reason for Pat to still be here, to be playing around on the margins to try to get 3 seeds. There's no point. I mean, I know he's got a very healthy marriage, but like, I also know Chris Riley likes to travel. Like, what is he still doing here? This is about one last big score. This is Ocean's 13. Okay, this is one last big score, and he's basically putting pieces together to get this team moving forward to maybe sneak into the finals this year,
Ethan,
but make yourself so relevant you can't be ignored.
Ethan, I have a question for you. If the end result is you lose Dion, JJ, and Justice, and pick up Danilo Gallinari, you pick up Gallo, and you pick up Iggy, is this an Eastern Conference Finals team?
I mean, look, Milwaukee's really good. But I
didn't say they're going to beat Milwaukee. I said, do they get to the Eastern Conference Finals?
They're better than Boston. As currently constituted, yes. I mean, Philly, I mean, we talked about Philly ad nauseum. They're better than Boston. I mean, Boston I still think they need bigs. They're better than Toronto. They're better than Indiana. So, I mean,
with those guys. And I agree with you. And I think if what you lost are guys that you barely play, and you picked up guys that are going to be solid rotation, maybe even starters, without Myers Leonard, Andre Iguodala or Jae Crowder starts, or Danilo Gallinari. Out of those 3 guys, if you pick up any of those guys, they start without Myers Leonard and without Myers Leonard healthy. So if you pick up starters for guys that don't even play, I mean.
Well, Myers is an interesting question too. I don't know, like, how he fits in this whole thing. Is Kelly going out? Is Myers becoming your backup big? Like, how does that play out? Like, I mean, there are things that are going to have to be sorted out. But the Heat have made so many of these moves in the middle of seasons and let the coach figure it out, whether it was Pat or Spo, that they'll just do it again. I'm not concerned about any of that. I think, look, we have to see what the final pieces are. It kind of sounds a little too good to be true right now, that they're going to get Gallinari for just removing protections and somehow managing to shed contracts. Like, there's got to be something else in there. Sam Presti, he is not an idiot. Like, I mean, you're dealing with the top 5 general manager in the NBA who has fleeced as many or more teams than the Heat have. Okay, yeah. So I mean, you're talking about Masai and Sam Presti are guys I don't typically want to deal with, and so we'll see what plays out there. But I mean,
see, what I heard is Derek Jones Jr. is safe. To me, I would think if you're going to get Gallinari, Derek Jones Jr. is gone. If they can somehow swing this without losing Derek Jones Jr., I'd be amazed, absolutely amazed.
The one that I don't really want to lose right now is Nunn. I think Harrow has been off the table. We know Bam and Butler are off the table. And we knew Justice was on the table. You know, I reported on the last podcast that there were teams interested in him. The team that I'd heard was San Antonio. But I'd rather not lose none. So let's see how that plays out. And again, I still one of the best value contracts in the sport, if not the best. So anyway, we've gone on too long. So we're gonna end it here. Check out our great sponsors, of course, the Seltzer Manfred Law Firm, onecalllegal.com, spell it out, ONE. calllegal.com, some of their 24 hours a day to handle your case, personal injury, obviously traffic tickets, immigration, just about anything else based in North Miami, but handle cases from all over the state. We may have to do another podcast in 15 minutes. Seriously, I need to get a throat lozenge. So we're done.
Thank you for listening to the Five on the Floor on the Five Regional Sports Network.